Begin Within Ministries proudly presents Sofa Sundays with your hosts, Michelle Ezugwu and Reverend Jeannie Sovereigns. Sundays at 11:11 a.m. Arizona time. And rebroadcast on Mondays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Come join us on the sofa every Sunday. Sofa Sundays with Michelle and Jeannie. Learn more at www.beginwithinministries.com. In partnership with New Thought Media Network.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone in the house. We're getting good. We're getting a good live studio audience.
We are.
No, this is really the congregation. You all should be here in person if you can. We'd love to see you in person because we'd love to see everyone and get our hugs and stuff in the mornings. Although I owe you two. We need some hugs. But I know it's not Jeannie, but she does wear fun glasses that match her outfit. I mean, it's similar, very similar. It's our friend Tara Brown is on the sofa this morning. We're so happy to have you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here this morning. So, what was I going to say to you? Oh, she was going to go on a bike ride this morning at 5:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Wild.
But it rained out.
It rained her out.
In Phoenix, it rained out. Crazy, right?
Did everybody get that storm last night?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we were north, like around the 101 north, and on our way home, it was like just constant in the background. And I said, I've never seen the sky go on and on and on. You know, usually there's a moment between the lightning, but it just never stopped. It was just flickering everywhere. It was crazy. And then in the middle of the night, I heard it over the house, and I live in the central Phoenix area, so I thought, it came through. That's good.
Oh yeah, it was good.
My plants are appreciative this morning. Right?
So was our desert, right?
I know. We needed it bad. So anyway, obviously we're in Arizona, if you didn't know that by now, but we love the rain here because we need it so badly. If my sister's watching, they get it all the time over there, so they don't care, right? So we are here located at the home of Reverend Dr. Michelle Whittington at 7220 North 16th Street in Phoenix. Those of you that are in this area, you can still get here. We're going to talk for a little bit before we get into the meat of the things that we're going to do today. But so if you're coming still, head on over. We'd love to see you in person too. And those of you on the live feed, good morning to you. I'm glad you're here. What else do I usually say in the morning? I can't remember.
You talk about Reverend Michelle's classes.
Yes, so thank you. So we're in Reverend Dr. Michelle Whittington's house, so to speak, in her studio. She does all of her work here. She has her groups, her one-on-one coaching with individuals. You can check out what she has going on unleashyourlife.us. It's amazing work that she's done. She's one of my greatest mentors. I know you would say this, so many of us would say the same thing. So if you don't know about her, go check that out, see what she has going on. This space is also something that you can rent for your own events, and it's a beautiful space here. We are so grateful that she gives it to us for our Sofa Sundays celebrations. All right, so I think we're going to get started with a pray in, and we're going to have our special guest Tara pray us in this morning. So I didn't bring the gong thing over here. What's that called again? What's my little bowl called? A little special bowl. It's a little bowl. Anyway, it's not here, so I'm going to go ding. Just pretend.
Okay, I can do that.
We can pretend.
Why don't we all take a breath? Breathe in through the nose and exhale out your mouth as if you're breathing through a straw. I call that the straw breath. And it's designed to move you from your stress response to your relaxed response. And in that state, we get to relax. And why do we relax? We can relax in the knowing that there's only one power and one presence. That everything that is happening is all part of God. It is all good. It is all part of the one thing of which I, you, Michelle, everyone here present, even the room, that physical space that we are in, is all made of the one thing. If we think of the atoms that we're exchanging with everything that exists. We are all made of the same stuff. And that stuff is God's stuff. So we are all one in God. And as we are all one in God, I, Tara, speak my word into that law, God's law, to bring into each of our experience that which is for our highest and best good. Knowing that this day, this moment, this conversation unfolds in a divine perfect order, and the word of God is spoken to and through each of us. And that each person listening receives that which he or she has need, whether or not it's the words that are spoken. And so that the word that you need is received in this here and now moment. And it is blessed and it is good. And each of us is blessed with the light, the love, the joy, the abundance, the prosperity of God flowing in, as, and through each of us, knowing that all that's happening, no matter what life looks like right now, the spiritual truth of it is that it is good. And I bless all spiritual teachers, all religious leaders, all world leaders, knowing that the divine good is happening here now, everywhere, and for everyone. And with that, I'm incredibly grateful. And I release these words into the law that can only say yes. And as I do it, it's done, and I let it go, and so it is. And so it is.
Thank you so much.
And so it is.
So it is. That's what we say. I have to write a little note because she's already got me thinking things. Gotta take a little quick second. What was that? Look at, I take lots of notes in this book. So hold on a second, and then yes. Perfect. All right, so we have a reading this morning that we'll start off with. We have our affirmation this morning as I allow all good to come to me. Those of you that are in the house always get our card for the week. And so allow is on page 11 of Anton's, the New Thoughts for Today book that we were so graciously donated a bunch of them so that our people here can read along. But you can also get this book for yourself at right off of Amazon. It's a great book, New Thoughts for Today. And I'm telling you, you could just go to any page and read something inspirational. So we're going to go from page 11 today. And it starts off with this quote: expect it, believe it, trust yourself and the process, and allow it to come to you. Mike Basovic, No Limits, Mastering the Mental Edge. Before I found my way to New Thought, when I was a card-carrying member of an apostolic, I can't say that word, say it again. Apostolic religion, the idea that I should submit to the will of God never sat well with me. As I grew in wisdom and understanding, I'm happy to say I mellowed some. But surrendering is still not my strong suit. What I have found I can do, however, is to allow. The idea of allowing came to me at the beginning of 2021 as I ruminated on what word to use as a guide in the new year. It was the one I chose to embolden on a stone during a New Year's ceremony. Allowing is related to the idea of having preferences versus attachments. Having attachments leads us to think, I can only be happy if I have this person in my life, or if I weigh a certain amount, or if I own a certain brand of car. Attachments like this, if we don't get them, will only bring us sadness, frustration, and possibly grief. Preferences allow us to receive into a bigger bucket, a bigger mental equivalent than attachments ever could. Rather than putting us at odds with our lives as they unfold, allowing puts us in the flow and opens us to all possibilities as co-creators with the divine. By allowing it to work in, as, and through us, we have more than we could ever imagine. We can have the world and all that's in it. There is nothing to prevent it. Today I practice allowing all good to come to me. It is my choice. Jean Cat, I've even practiced this.
Carioca.
Carioca. So she's a practitioner of religious science in Moreno Valley, California. Thank you, Jean. We appreciate this reading. I think this is the perfect reading for today, specifically talking about, even when I do my spiritual mind treatments, I always bring up allowing, as we allow ourselves, because we have to, it comes from inside, it begins within. We have to allow it to happen. Everything can be right here that we want, but unless we allow it to come to us, or allow ourselves to have it, or allow ourselves to believe we are worth it, it just sits there, So the very fact that we have the desires that we have says it's already there for us. We have to allow ourselves to be open to receiving. And that's with any form of abundance. The allowing has to happen inside of ourselves first.
It's interesting. So I really loved this reading. There are a few key words that I thought were important. The first was submit. The second was surrender. And then the third is allow. And we were talking about this before we got going. But I've been really studying over the last few years. And this idea, like submit, for example.
Well, a lot of people go, ugh.
Yes. Well, there's a reason for that.
It's like a little twinge in there.
Because submit is about yielding personal authority, right? When you submit, you let go of your divine authority and you put yourself under the authority of someone or something else, which is very different from surrender. So I kind of disagree with the writer on surrender. Surrender is an empowered state. It is a choice point. Submit is forced upon you. Submit or, right? Submit or, in some religions, go to hell. I don't particularly believe in hell. But submit or there will be some awful consequence. Surrender is as much more to my liking, like allow, but surrender is as a choosing to be with what is. And then, of course, allow is a much gentler word, a much less loaded word, to really allow things to happen. And I thought that the other thing that was said in here that was really interesting was this idea of allowing is related to the idea of having preferences versus attachments. And the examples that were given. And when we're attached to something, so Michelle and I were trained as practitioners in the same place. And one of the things as a practitioner that you're trained deeply in is that our thoughts create after their kind. And that is in common parlance.
Say that one more time, because we may have people who don't really understand that. So just
that your thoughts create after their kind. Why this is important is that you, and I mean every person listening, you are an incredibly powerful spiritual being clad in human form. And you've heard, if you've paid attention and if you followed spirituality, more New Thought, anywhere, you've heard this. This isn't a new idea. But it's so literal. So our subconscious mind does not understand the word no or not. Our subconscious mind takes command from our conscious mind, from the thinking that we put into it, and creates accordingly. So for example,
just always says yes.
Yeah, it just says yes. It doesn't have a will of its own.
Yes, you want that? Yes.
It's like planting seeds in the soil. You can plant tomato seeds or weed seeds. The soil doesn't care. It'll grow whatever you plant.
It says yes.
It says yes. And the
That's
interesting
one of my favorite analogies, because it immediately everybody goes, oh, I know how a plant grows. I get that. You immediately go, oh, what?
Right.
What? Yeah.
Well,
It's like perfect analogy for
this soup that we live in, whatever this is the same. It says yes.
Yes.
And the thing that I like about that is it's incredibly literal and has no sense of humor. Yes, right? No sense of humor.
I know. Well, you know how people will say that too. People will say, "Oh, God has a sense of humor today. This is happening." It's like, yeah, no. It's,
and
I love that.
And that and the analogy I like to give is like, if I said to you, "Don't picture the Statue of Liberty. Don't see her standing out there in New York Harbor.
What'd you guys do?
Don't think about it," right?
Immediately picture the statue.
Immediately picture the Statue of Liberty. And so why that's important is that's what your subconscious mind does. And so this attachment to something having to be a certain way is very subtly the energy of not having. It's a lack energy. It's not an energy of abundance. The allowing allows you to step into the energy of abundance. This is something even better still, whereas attached is, I've got to have it. And so even if you think you're endeavoring to use your thinking to manifest, you're actually using your energy of the opposite of expectation, of not having. And so the result is you're not having what you're thinking. It's that literal.
Yeah.
It's so specific.
It is, and that I think is, I teach my kids this all the time, it's specifically true, because he was, as a younger guy, right, very moody, right? He doesn't feel like that anymore so much, but he used to be, he could drop on a dime and start crying, like be upset just like that fast. And these teachings really helped him, I think, because I wish he was here today because I would ask him about this, but I would say to him, you know, the law is saying yes to what you're saying right now. Do you want more of what's this, or do you want to work on that and attract what you really want to be happening right now? Because the law is just saying yes to you. You're just creating more of the thing that you don't want, you know, and it's so easy to understand or to teach that, but it's a lot more complicated to understand about attachments and how, like, I love when you say, or we all say, when I say, I don't want XYZ, people don't realize when the don't want, it just goes away. It's the XYZ and it winds up manifesting. And you don't understand that. Like, so it's very interesting to me where we need to be focusing on what we do want and, you know, aligning with what we do want to be experiencing instead of what we don't want to be experiencing, because the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. It just keeps creating from that. It's just the soil, and you're just popping these little seeds in there. And if you're not mindful and paying attention to your thinking, you could be planting all kinds of stuff. I mean, just think about even just your morning. What kinds of stuff have you been planting all morning? I mean, I'm thinking to myself right now, did I pay attention to my thinking all morning? No. I'm sure I put a few things in there that probably I would like to, I'll need to go pull out later, you know what I mean? But it's, good morning, ladies. I'm glad you're here. But when you say, I really want this thing, so I need to have a certain type of car.
Sure.
Right? So instead of saying, I have a red Porsche or whatever, I'm trying to think of who, I don't care about, but what kids tend to say, right? Like, I want a red, you know, what's it, Lamborghini or whatever they want, you know, these fancy cars. But it's always going to be out here because it's always a want. It's always going to never be the thing because you're recognizing what you don't have now, and you're just going to keep creating that over and over again instead of allowing yourself to embody having it already. The very fact that you desire it means it's already there for you if you choose to go that path.
Sure. And I heard this said this way recently, and it really helped me even after 15 years of study. If you can imagine the outcome, there's a path. If you cannot imagine the outcome, there is no path. So where the power is in that is if you can actually allow yourself just to imagine driving the Lamborghini, that means I don't know exactly the path. I can't tell you what the path is, but the seed of the outcome exists in the imagination of the idea. So that the first belief is that there is a way there. And then what do I do today? Like what's one step? Well, I could get a Matchbox car of a Lamborghini, and now I have one. Like if you need to trick yourself into believing, get something that you can get that is the symbol of that thing, and now you have it. And then you can come from having it as opposed to not having it. Because I love taking these spiritual principles and make them very actionable and practical. As long as they stay in theory, they're just a great idea. But until then, we've implemented them in our life. I was working with a woman once who, for 15 years, she wanted to be pregnant. And actually, we held an event here, and she told her story here. But imagine from age 25 to age 40, every medical professional told you can't have a kid. 9 months after we started working together, she was pregnant, right? And she had a positive pregnancy test on Mother's Day. Well, I wasn't involved in the actual getting pregnant part, but I helped her with her thinking. Like, I helped her imagine that despite all this programming for every medical professional telling her that she couldn't, and she had the anatomy, right? There was no biological reason for her to be unable to be pregnant. It might take a bit bigger believing if one had had a hysterectomy. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't know if my believing is fully there, right? But my believing for her, given the anatomy, was fully there. And so what we did was we first just started to imagine what would it be like to have a baby, to hold one. And I actually invited her, she had a stepdaughter, to if her daughter still had dolls that she wasn't playing with anymore, get a doll, hold the doll, and go to some store that sells baby products and smell them all. Because I found that in motherhood, there was like one product, it happened to be A&D diaper ointment, that when I smelled it, my whole body went baby. And
I know this.
There's
smell.
certain, I know,
we
I
all
love
have
it.
like that smell. Find that smell and smell that while you're imagining being a mother while holding the baby, right? Make it something that you viscerally can believe. And I remember the phone call when she shifted from not believing it was possible to believing that she could. 4 months later, she was pregnant. And it happened that fast. 15 years of one result, but she changed her thinking and she remapped her body, gave her body a new story to respond to, and her body changed. And I love that about this work because
Right.
our bodies will respond. They are very literal. They
It
are,
begins within, and here, it just begins within. You're the,
What an interesting thought.
I know, right? It's amazing. You know, and when I remember doing this with Jordan, my oldest, who's now 32 years old, but when we would create a magazine. My mother used to do this. She used to clip clippings out of magazines, and then she would create her own magazine, and then she'd flip through it, and it would remind her of things. So she'd put flowers in there, remind her, oh, I need to water the flowers, or whatever her purpose was for the things in the magazine. And I used something that was so. At first, I thought it was really weird that she would do stuff like that. My mom had all these little weird practices, and then when I started this work, I remember thinking to myself, oh, I know what she's doing. That's very interesting, you know? So I did that with Jordan. So Jordan's now 32, so this is a long time ago. When he was about 15, we did this together. We created magazines of the things we were manifesting. And then we would look through, because it was sometimes harder for me to like build it up in my mind, but if I could look at a picture, it was easier. I'm very visual. So if you could look at the picture, the thing that you want, and then just let yourself imagine it. Imagine walking in it or driving it or whatever the thing is that you're creating, and you're imagining yourself with all this, and then you feel that feeling. To me, that feeling is the secret sauce. You once you get that feeling, now you know what it needs to feel like. Now you know what it feels like when you are having that. What's that vibrational frequency, the match? And as you move throughout the day, you don't need to be thinking about the car if that's what you're manifesting. You don't need to walk around all day, like every 2 seconds, thinking about the car. But you do need to keep your vibrational frequency at the match. So if you walk throughout your day and you let somebody piss you off, and now the whole day's derailed and you're angry and you're grumping around, whatever, are you the match for the thing that you're trying to pull to you? You're not at this moment. So it might not be moving towards you. It's sitting there, but you're just not the match. And as soon as you recognize, not that you shouldn't have those feelings if you're grumpy, but as soon as you can, get yourself back to the matching vibration of the things that you want, the life that you want, the feeling that you want to be having. So that for me, when I read the Isaiah effect, I think he even says it in there too, that every second of every moment, you are either breathing life or breathing, I don't know if he said death or the opposite. So you're either pulling those things towards you that you want, or you're pushing them away. So
what I love about that is I've learned to have grace. You only need to be pulling it towards you more than you're pushing away.
yes.
So 51% of the time, y'all, we're not talking 100%
Yes.
perfection. However, the more you do it, the faster it comes.
Gotcha.
My term is collapse time. The more you do it, suddenly after 15 years of one result, 4 months later, you have a new result, right? You've just collapsed time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I like to play. I like to help people
Yes.
collapse time.
Mm-hmm.
I like to help people understand the power of their own thinking and the power of their own imagination. And then once they do, oh, and once you get it, get it. And I mean, there are places in my life where I'm still endeavoring to get it. There are places where it's like smooth sailing and places where the seas are up until now a little bit more choppy. But once you get it, everything just gets easy. The things you're looking for in life just show up. Like you think about something, and then a couple weeks later, it's just offered to you. Like literally. It's
So
really
crazy.
fun. It's so fun.
Well, that's my Scotland trip was just like that. You know, I spent 25 years on that, having that same dream, wanting to go to Scotland someday. Well, someday I'm going to go to Scotland. It was my number one bucket item. And when I first started dreaming that dream, I was 25. So much different person than I was at 49 when I recognized how much longer am I going to keep saying I want to go to Scotland someday? Like it just clicked one day, and I thought, now if it was a client I was working with, we would have built a plan, we would have done all the things. I haven't done any of that. I just kept in my mind that someday I'll be able to someday. So I thought, okay, so what's stopping me? What's the stop? And I recognized that I was afraid of, back then I was afraid of flying. I thought it was going to be very expensive. I was only 25, so I had a child, and I was just not in my mind in a position to pay for something like that. And I also was, I didn't have a passport. So 3 things were kind of in my way. So I thought, okay, well, why don't we, so I had learned a lot by then, right? Why don't we check the validity of the things that you are thinking, right? So I looked up passport, and I thought this was going to be all involved, horrible experience, whatever. $140 later, 15 minutes of my time, it was done, and I was just now waiting for it to come. Like, wait, what? Oh my gosh. But it's the same thing as what you're saying, collapse time. The moment that my mind shifted to, oh no, wait a minute, I can have this. Like, what are we doing? Things started happening very quickly. And then the second thing was, how much is this going to cost me? You know, so I was thinking about that, and what's the flight? Well, I didn't even get a chance to research the flight, because once I got my passport in, I had a client that asked me, I've told the story before, so you guys probably remember this, but I had a client that asked me, hey, did you get your passport yet? I said, I did. Oh my gosh. Oh, good. Let me see it. I want to see it. Yeah, I know. It's like so crazy to have a passport now, and I can go anywhere. I was so excited. I remember showing it to her. She goes, oh, this is great. And she was an attorney, always working with the Supreme Court. So she was always waiting for cases to come in and stuff. So she always had this little like a mini computer thing. So she's got her computer, and she started thinking, I said, what are you doing? She says, I'm just looking. I want to see something. So she's looking up the flights. She goes, you want to be there on your birthday, right? I said, I do, yeah. I said, yeah, that's my goal. It's my 50th birthday. I'm going to do this. So this was January when I got my passport. And she says, so your birthday's the 18th. How about you go on the 14th and you come back on the 21st? And I was like thinking to myself, my head starts going, well, I can't pay for it right now. Like, what's she doing? I'm not going to. And then I started feeling like shame. Like, I'm going to be embarrassed to say I can't afford a ticket right now. Like, I started doing all that stuff. And I said, and I finally thought, you need to own it, that you're not going to buy a ticket right now. So I said, what are you doing? And I said, I can't get my ticket right now. She goes, oh, no, I'm getting your ticket. And I said, what? And she goes, oh, I'm buying your ticket. I just want to make sure those dates are good. And I was like, I just started crying, and she's like, well, don't cry. Why are you crying? This should be happy. Oh, no, I'm happy. I'm like, what is happening? She says, no, I'm just getting you there. The rest of the stuff you're going to have to figure out, but I'm just getting you there. So immediately, I have a passport very quickly. Immediately, all of a sudden, I'm going to be there. I've got a plane ticket. I'm going to be there. Now I just have to figure out how much does it cost for whatever I want to do, which I got an agent to do that and help me. And then I made payments for the next several months. And then I had my fear of flying, which I had already kind of overcome because I had been flying a lot more as an adult. So very quickly, all of a sudden, I was lined up to do something that I wanted for 25 years. In less than, 9 months, I was already figured it out, and it was already going on.
And what I love about your story, because this is really, really, really important. Okay, so you took a step, right? You took the step that you could take.
Mm-hmm.
You had $140 for a passport, and you had the time. So without the passport, you were never going.
Right, and I had to show the universe I was serious.
And so you took the step that you could take, but you didn't need money to get to Ireland. You needed a plane ticket. Pay very close attention. You want to pay attention when you're manifesting constantly. What do you actually need?
I like
We
that.
think it's money most of the time, but often it's just the thing.
Mhm.
And there's many ways of getting the thing. Money is one way of getting the
And
thing.
it's interesting because that's one way I never would have thought. Would have
Someone
been a
gifted
way.
it to you.
That's the other thing too. So if I had had an attachment to, I need to make so much money to get my ticket, whatever, I could have missed the whole other situation, or I wouldn't have been in the vibration to even attract it.
And for all
But
you
it
know,
was
she
already
had
there.
for all you know, she had points and she
That's
was
what she
gifted.
did. She used her miles. She was traveled constantly for what
Right.
she did.
She probably had more
And she
miles
had
than
so
she
many
could ever
miles,
use.
she just figured it out and it was done literally in that moment. Yeah. So that to me, that was a huge learning experience of what my mind had been holding on to and believing, and going unchecked, it maintained that for 25 years.
Yeah.
It was unchecked. So like if you have something that you want to bring to you, something in abundance, that would be like a huge bucket list item for you. Like if it's a one that you've had for a long time, I challenge you to check it. Check the thinking, because 25 years is a long time.
It's a lot of
wait.
pattern.
Long time.
It's a lot of pattern.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. It's just unnecessary.
Right. When
Unnecessary to do
the
that.
moment you change the pattern, the whole experience changed. And that was
Yeah.
one of my favorite authors is Emmett Fox.
Yeah.
And he's got a bunch of tiny little pamphlet books where you can get on Amazon for all of $2. And I think like the paper version, I think you can get them for cents through Kindle. And one of them is called the 7-Day Mental Diet. And the 7-Day Mental Diet is to control, and I'll be honest with y'all, I have never been able to do this for 7 solid days. It is
what is it?
it's like one of the hardest things you will ever undertake. But the diet is to disallow yourself from entertaining any thought that's unlike what you want to create for 7 days. And it takes so much energy that he's like, I'm only asking you to do this for 7 days.
Yeah.
And in there, one of the quotes that he has in there is basically the whole summary is, what you think creates by law. There's no chance. There's no other chance.
No.
It's the moment you change your thinking, your results change. Period.
Done.
And why is that? It's actually because you're that powerful. None of this is coming from that. You're bad, you're wrong, look at what you've done to yourself.
Right.
That there's that out there. This is not from there. This is really trying to help you open up to this acknowledgement of you're actually that powerful. And from that place of power, choose again. Like just from that place of like, are you loving it? If not, what would you love? And just put more of your energy on that.
Do-overs.
Do-overs are great.
Right?
Well, we know that the truth is there's only one thing.
There's only one
There's
thing.
only one thing, and that's God, Spirit, the divine, whatever you want to call it. And
Universe
that's
energy.
all there ever was. There's only one thing. And if you align with that, if you understand that and know that as the truth, then there's only the one thing to be created out of. That's it. You can't be created out of anything else. Therefore, you have all of the same attributes as that one thing.
Yeah.
Just the same as the ocean is, if that were the one thing, and you were a drop out of that ocean, you're not the ocean, but I could take that little drop and look at it, and it would have the exact same attributes as the ocean.
Do you know, I heard that for years before I understood it. So I'm going to say it again
Yeah.
because it literally took a decade for that to make any sense to me where I actually got it. So I've got a cup here, right? And let's say there was a body of water here and this cup were empty. It's not, so I'm not going to spill the coffee all over that place. But if I took this cup, this body of water is the ocean. Let's pretend the ocean is God. It's a metaphor for God. And if I took this cup to the ocean and I just stuck it in and I filled it up, what is inside the cup? This is not a trick question.
Water.
Ocean water, right? 100% ocean water, right? It is entirely ocean water. This was the thing that took me forever to get. Is it 100% of the body of the ocean? No, but it is 100% ocean.
Yes.
Why it took 10 years for that to go? So this is all God. I do admit.
And I'm glad you're saying that, because I did get that, but that was the one way that it clicked to me, but it doesn't mean that everybody gets it on the front end. So it's always, I
10
love
years.
explaining, because sometimes we can get stuck in certain understandings, and Yeah,
And-
it's a huge once you get that, it makes everything make sense.
so I'm a big fan of Thomas Troward, and
Oh,
we studied
You're
Troward.
just
We
saying
studied
all the
Troward
good
and
names
Herbert
this
Thomas
morning.
Hopkins
You're
together.
saying all the good
And
names.
so Troward, so I'm a math person, right? My undergraduate degree is a Bachelor of Science, and Troward put in his book, this is how I got it.
Yeah.
He goes, in the beginning there was God and nothing. And so
Yes.
X plus
I don't
zero
think there was
equals
nothing.
X.
I think there was just God.
Well, nothing is nothing. Like nothing is the absence of anything, right? So that was his God and nothing is zero. So X plus zero equals X. That was when the light bulb moment went off for me, because I'm a math person. It's like, oh, therefore, now I'll admit something here. There is an assumption. I'm enough of a math person to go, the assumption is that there was God and nothing, right? That is truly an assumption, but that assumption works for me. So it's one I choose to make.
Mhm.
And so in the beginning, there was God and nothing. Therefore, we are all God. The mug, the sofa, the dress, the plant,
Yeah.
the screen, the air coming out of the vents. Like, there's no exception. And then Emma Curtis Hopkins would say that, and God is good.
You're pulling all out
I
the
know,
grades,
I
all
love
the
it.
grades out here.
But what I love about that is that every circumstance that we're facing, even the ones we can't stand and we don't like and we wish were different, is actually here for our good. And there is no exception to that. And it can be difficult in the middle of life to remember that when things are really going against the way you were hoping they would go. But when we do, we can find the seed of good in every circumstance. And then, as another favorite, Napoleon Hill would say, in every adversity, there's a seed of an equal or greater good. And
Yes.
but our job is to find the seed, plant it,
Mhm.
nurture it, grow it, and harvest the good. It's like it doesn't just happen, but it's always there.
Yes. And that's how we know we have that power.
And it's innate.
That's how you know you have the power. You cannot use it. You can act like you don't.
Mhm.
But even by default, you are still using that power because you just have it.
You can't help but have it.
You're creating no matter what you do. You can be like, I don't create, I don't do whatever, and you're still creating.
And that's what you're creating.
That's just who you are.
You're creating, I don't create.
Yeah, it's just done. So whether somebody knows it or not, you can't deny that we're made of only one thing, and that one thing has certain attributes, and we have those attributes. Therefore, if you don't, what you said, I love that. That was huge. That was a huge realization for me that if I didn't like what my life had become, I created it. Therefore, I could change it now.
That's the piece.
That's huge, huge.
It's not shame on you created it.
No.
It's you have the opportunity to
Yeah,
change
so do
it.
something else. It's
Yeah.
so cool. It's scary and
liberating.
empowering
Oh,
all
girl.
at once.
Oh, it is. Oh,
It can
right.
freak you out. You ready? So she took the mic. So she's back there doing something else. So can you just talk real loud?
Yeah, sure. Can I talk?
Can you talk real loud, Ann?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I remember when my daughter Kaylee went through foundations. She actually went
Oh,
through
yes.
with Jeannie.
Nice.
And during the course of that time, she got a job that she really liked. She started a relationship with someone that she was interested in dating. And I was pointing out to her, it's important for you to notice that you have the power to create this.
Yeah.
And her response was, well, if I have the power to create this, then it's my fault for all the crap. And I said, exactly. She didn't like that. I said, but it's not about blame.
No.
It's about if you can find a sliver of responsibility, then you have some power in the situation. But if it's all everybody else doing it to you, you have no power.
Thank you for that realization that yes, it can seem scary. You can want to beat yourself up for whatever before you realized it was coming from you, but don't do that because every single thing that has happened has led you to this place. Then you have to be grateful for it. There's nothing in my life that I'm sure there are things in my life that I wish were different, or I could say I wish didn't happen, but I can't do that because would I be sitting here then? You can't discount all of that. It was all a part of the path that got you to this place. So if you want to change things, the beauty of that is it is on you.
Yeah.
And it's an innate power that you have, and you have it whether you realize it or not. And that's, to me, that was like that analogy of the ocean and the droplet and that was when I think everything started to change for me. That realization that it's not on everybody else.
So I teach spiritual principles from the laws of physics, not quantum physics, because guess what? Quantum physics is so freaking advanced that really people who really understand it are also got their PhDs from places like MIT and stuff. But from basic physics, from the basic things that we know. For example, there's a bunch of us in this room and we all sitting on a chair or a sofa, right? Now, the Newton's third law says that every action, he didn't say force, every action is met with an equal and opposite reaction. And we intuitively know this. So for example, I'm sitting on this chair. If by sitting on this chair, I suddenly sank to the ground, that would be weird. Or if sitting on this chair, because this chair is meeting me perfectly. Or if I sat on this chair and suddenly I started to levitate, that would be weird. Those are not the laws of this world. We are met with an equal and opposite reaction. So by the laws of classical physics, every action I put out in the world comes back to me. It's a vector. It's going forward, and it comes back to me, a vector coming back with an equal, like an arrow with an equal and opposite reaction. And you said something at the very beginning about like kind of putting our energy in different directions. So this is for those of you that might be, I might be losing some people, but for those of us that are math oriented, this might help you get this. If you think about, like, if you imagine that you want to go forward, and let's say you had 6 horses and you line them up and they can pull you forward. That would be unifying your thought about something you want to create. But let's say you have the same 6 horses and one's going this way and one's going that way and one's going that way and one's going that way and one's going, and they're all going in different directions. You're just going to be going cattywampus. That's what happens when our thinking is split up. It's not that we don't have the power, right?
We don't keep it.
It's not that the power isn't there, it's just not harnessed.
Yes.
And taking us in the direction we go. Or we could aim the horses, we want to go there, but the horses are aimed here. And all the power is taking us over here. But we're the driver, we have the capacity to reorient the horses.
Right.
And that's
our work.
that is the day-to-day work. And I will never say that that's easy work. That's actually some of the hardest work.
It is. I agree, but it's the awareness, staying aware. You can stay aware of yourself and your thinking and create check-ins for yourself, like the morning journaling or the nighttime gratitude moments and the check-ins during the day, the deep breaths, keeping yourself present. There's so many things we talk about up here that are just universal. They talk about all New Thought, like it's just universal stuff because it's how it works.
Yeah.
And if you can, I agree with having grace. I know we're all having the same human experience, and sometimes it's not what we want. Yeah, it's the horses pulling in all different directions. So it's definitely having grace. It's no beating up. There's no shame in the game. Like, we're not doing the shame game. Like, this is not what this is for. It's for, I even talked to Luke this morning. There was a situation we talked about, and I said, it's not to be upset with yourself. It's to go, wow, that happened. How can I make sure it doesn't happen again? Here's the new way I'm going to do it, and the double check so it doesn't happen again, and now I'm moving forward. It's not, oh yeah, sorry. Like, no, that's not why we do that. That's not why we're doing that. We didn't like that, so we don't want that to happen again. How do we change the thinking, and put the things in place to keep ourselves moving? So if you catch yourself being negative, you don't beat yourself up about that. You go, okay, what can I do to help myself at this time of day when my energy is low or I'm having to deal with such and such, and these cards are a good thing. That's why we made them in the size of a business card, so they could just fit right in your wallet. So you could see them we could pick, oh, this is the one I need to work on. I'm just gonna stick it right here. Sticks in the mirror in your bathroom. That's why we made the cards like this, so that you could have them with you all the time. Stick them in your pocket. Oh, I'm having a moment. Let me pull out my card. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be allowing myself to, So if it's not the card, if it's something else, think about that. Like, when do you feel like you are not having your horses going in the right direction? When do you feel like you're pushing away that thing you want to be attracting? When are you doing those things? And put in place the tools, the thinkings, the reminders, the little alarm on the phone. There's apps for that. There's apps for mindfulness that will just ding you. Just these little dings. So you go, oh yeah, I'm being let's get back to whatever you have to do, because it is a lot. There's thoughts that are racing through constantly, and we just don't want certain ones to land. We want them just to go, we want to keep the ones that are focused where we want to go.
And kind of if you think about those thoughts that you don't want to entertain, think of them like ash from a fire, like a campfire, and it can't burn you unless it sits on your clothing or your skin for a long time. If it lands, you just flick it away. It has no power. Those thoughts are the same way. It's not that they're not going to come. Meditation really isn't about clearing your mind so you have no thoughts. It's about learning to have the thought, allowing the thoughts to just move through without paying attention to them, and being able to be deliberate with what you choose to pay attention to and let everything else go. It's way more like, it's a muscle that you're exercising, way more like lifting weights than it's like, the result can be self-actualization. It's as opposed to just getting stronger. It's a different, but you're exercising a mental muscle and you're creating the capacity to choose the thoughts you entertain. That's what that's really about.
Yeah. So when we get back to our, when we're looking at our affirmation today, I allow all good to come to me. The allowing is basically being in that flow, right? Just watching the mind, allowing yourself to move with, you know, like people say, what's people say, submit to the will of God. You submit to the will of God or whatever. And I didn't like that either. Like, submit to the will of God. It just sounds so, but I'm supposed to have free will. Like, why am I all this stuff, right? But if you allow the will, wouldn't you want to allow the will of God to happen into your life? Would you want to allow that to, would you want to allow yourself to flow with the will of God? Because God, it's all for your highest and best good, and it's all, you're directing that. But at the same time, wouldn't you like to allow yourself instead of?
I think that requires for some people a reconceptualization of what God means to you. Because I remember being like 12 or 13 and cleaning my father's office because that was like a part-time job that he had me do. And I walked in and I remember one day as a very inquisitive person saying to my dad, I don't know if there is a God. And his response to me was, you're going to hell. I mean, it was instant and decisive.
Wow.
And, you know, I had the God the Father idea. So the Father just told me I was going to hell. It took decades to unwind that. It wasn't, I was mad and I didn't want to let it in even at the time. But nonetheless, so I had to re-educate myself on a conception of God, this idea that God is good. But if you have an idea that God is punishing or mean or cruel, you're not going to allow yourself to follow the will of God.
Right.
Why the heck would I do that? Because I'm just going to get punished. And so if you struggle with that, that's the invitation is to, is that what you would love? And I realize this sounds really kind of Pollyanna, but because your thoughts create after their kind, you actually get to define your conception of God. I've chosen into one of God is good, and I've done my share of spiritual mind treatment that, I mean, it's a longer conversation than we have time for today, but I've actually proven to myself, because I use logic and science to do spiritual things, that's how my mind works, but I've actually proven to myself that God has to be good. And a very simple way is if evil were a real power, and if evil were the dominant power, we just wouldn't be here.
Amen.
We couldn't be here.
That's right.
Because destruction would have happened a long time ago.
For sure.
And so it's just not possible. It's a much longer conversation. It may not prove it to people, but it's really simple.
Right. But if you think of, when you think of love and fear, or love and hate, or love and whatever, it's the same coin. It's just two sides. So it's which side do you choose to look at? Not that God is hate, but it's like it's the push away, the not allow. It's our will. It's hard to put this into words, but it's our will. It's our thinking that creates. Just like when something happens, we're deciding is this good or bad, or could we just decide that it just is what it is, because it is just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow we got programmed to pick it just go in this bucket or this bucket and not let it just be what it is. It just is what it is. And what do I want to do about it? How do I want to move from it? What do I want to do now? That's just all the things are. And I know bad things happen that don't feel good. I'm not discounting things that I've experienced in my life that I would be like, well, and that's bad. I'm sorry. You can't say where can you say that was good in any piece of it?
Right.
Right? But there's always a flip. There's always the other side. We are choosing which one to look at. So even like, I always bring this one up with Mr. Rogers' mother. Remember do you remember this quote where he was watching something on the TV about war and he was so distraught by it, and she said, he was very upset by the ugliness and the terror and whatever, and she says, yes, but don't look at that, look for the heroes. There's always the heroes. Well, you can't have heroes if you don't have something for a hero to do.
It's helpers, not heroes.
Helpers,
Helpers.
thank you. Well, do you know the quote? Because I'm not pulling it. I used to know it, but I don't.
Just look for
Just
the
look for the helpers, look for the
Because
helpers.
heroes are like,
Yeah,
helpers can be anybody.
and I agree. I agree. So she said, look for the helpers, right? Okay. And once you start to recognize everything in life that way, it shifts. Then you can see why we would say God is the only thing, and God is love, God is joy, God is good. That's that piece of it.
Couldn't agree more.
And from that place, you can allow yourself to all the good to come to you.
And if you're struggling with allowing, where's one place today you can open to receiving more? Just today, what's one place where you can allow yourself to receive a little bit more? Not everything, maybe that's more than your nervous system can handle, because we do live in these vehicles, right? on this planet.
I'll go big or nothing, right?
Right.
We can do that to ourselves.
What if there's just a little bit?
Yeah,
What's one
Just
steps
start.
you could take to increase your
I
receiving?
like that.
Just
I
one
like
step.
that because I tend to be like, it's like the analogy, like, I'm gonna go to the gym every day this week and I'm gonna work out for 3 hours and I'm gonna do like, and then you don't make that happen. Well, see, I can't do it. Like, no. How about can you just get to the gym like for 20 minutes? Can you just do a little something? And then tomorrow maybe yes, just start the process, start the flow, take whatever you've gotten from this today and use it.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good. We forget to we don't have to do it all in one fell swoop. It can be a process.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely look for those areas.
Like getting the passport. That wasn't doing it all in one fell swoop.
No.
You just took today's step. And the beauty of that is, so what I love about when you got clear in your imagination what you would love, a trip to Scotland, a baby, right? Whatever it is, what's a step you can take towards that?
Right.
And what I've come to realize is the very first step is almost always free. Go to the library. I mean, if you don't have a computer, go to the library and go on the internet and do some research, right? You are perfectly equipped to take today's step. So I like to say that what if a goal or a dream has 100 steps to get there? You are equipped to take step 1. You're not equipped to take step 99. But we look so far ahead. Well, I can't do it. You're not being asked to do it.
We're not there yet. Yeah.
You're just here.
Love that. Love that.
And the universe plays with loaded dice. So when you work with your intuition, your inner knowing, your imagination, and you source ideas coming from the outcome, you take your one step. But your one step might take you, if the universe can rearrange the playing field and you go from 1 to 22, and take another step and you're at 69, you take another step, you're at 75, and you take another step and you're 99 and 100. You can do the same thing in 5 steps that other people are doing in 100. I promise you that they get bored before they get to 20 and they've given up.
Right.
But if you align yourself with the way things work, this is the collapsing of time, you are still just taking the next step. But I promise you that step 1 to 2 versus step 1 to 22. 1 to 22, there's no logical, causal, intellectual relationship between the two. And so you have to trust. You have to trust that I'm being guided to do this. I don't know why, but I'm going to take that step. And then I'm being guided from here to take this step. The analogy I like to use is what if you get this idea to go to Starbucks across town? Why would I do that? I can get coffee in my refrigerator out of my kitchen. And you get the strong, go to Starbucks across town. Well, just go. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know what's going to happen. That's like step 22 from step 1. And again, that's that fluidity. As you learn to trust and you learn to allow, and you learn to step into that, suddenly you take a step and it takes you leaps and bounds forward towards your goal, and you had no idea. And it just gets easier and easier.
It does.
So I was talking with someone at work, and they were pursuing a project, and it's a competitive space. They had to interview, and there were 2 other very good companies that they were interviewing with. And I had 1 hour with them, and my 1 hour was, can you imagine yourself winning? And they realized they were focusing on not losing, right? Circling all the way back to the very beginning, right? And this is very secular in a work environment. And they started to get the idea of, oh, I could win. What if I focus on winning? So the principal, the leader of the team, she started to realize she was even entertaining, oh, but this firm's going to win. They always win. They're so good. We're not as good as them. And she caught herself and said, what if we could win?
And what we do.
And so they led the team, and it was rocky, and it wasn't perfect. And she wasn't even in the interview, but the team went in, the team interviewed, and they won. And they had never won against this particular firms before. And she called me from vacation. Oh my God, Tara, we won. Oh my God, it's because of you. And it's not because of me. She changed her mind. I just gave her the information. But it's that powerful. I mean, within 5 days, they had a different result because they changed their thinking.
Exactly. And that's the biggest part. Like even getting the passport, when people bring that up to me, someone else had told me about a woman that wanted to go to Ireland, and then some work situation came up where they said, hey, we need somebody to go to Ireland. This is going on. We need to send somebody who can go. And she was like, I'm sorry, wait a minute, what? I can go. And so she could go because she already had a passport, right? So my friend was saying to me, I don't remember who this was, but whoever it is, if you're listening, just let me know. Somebody said to me that, so that can happen, but it can't happen for you because you don't have a passport. God can't give it to you because you don't have a passport. So no matter how much you manifest and how much you think about it and you do all the right thinkings, until you take that first step and do the thing that's right in front of you to do, God can't just hand it to you. It's not going to happen. I was like, that's true. That's right. That's my first step, is to get the passport handled. I need to get the passport. And then as soon as I got the passport, I had the ticket, which is several steps ahead, because had that client not bought me the ticket, I would have had to make them money, save them. I would have to do all these other steps, because I took all that was in front of me. I couldn't see the whole staircase. I couldn't see how it was going to go. And it did not go the way I would have perceived it back then at all. It was unbelievable. But all I had to do was this one thing. And then it's true. It did leap to the next thing. And then it was another big leap again. And so you don't have to know the how. God is the how. God does all that work for you. You just go in front of me. This is the thing I'm wanting. This is the thing I'm manifesting. So what's for me to do today?
Yep.
And that's all. Don't worry about all that. Just
Your job is the what
and
today's step. That's it.
And then let God, and then allow it, just flow with that and follow that. Yeah, that's it. That's all. I know, it sounds so easy.
I know.
It's easy on paper. It's easy on paper.
And in some aspects of life, I've found, and I've worked with many people on this, there are certain aspects of life where it is easy. And there are other places where there are growth places, and it's less easy. Notice my language, less easy.
Simple, but not easy.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's not necessarily hard everywhere.
But though too, we just have to seem to say it, but though too, with those things that we would say are hard or not easy or whatever, at the same time, when I look back on some of those experiences, those ahas, those moments where I conquered that moment that I thought that was hard, it does something in me. Mm-hmm. It builds me up for the next one. Or I'm not as timid for the next one, because I took care of that. I can do this. So sometimes those things come for us so that we can grow in our understanding and our belief and our strength in who we are.
Absolutely.
And we can't discount those moments. We have
You just found the good in them.
Yeah, there you go. I try. I try to stay positive. Oh, this has been so good. Thank you. Are there any comments? Anything from the house? Anything coming up for anybody? What? We solved all the world's problems by ourselves up here today? Nah, you guys are all nodding. We're like, we're on the right track. Okay, let's keep going. They give us full feedback the whole time, which is good. I love that about this group. Okay, so let's pray this. Lock it in. I like that, taking the breath in, the straw breath, and breathing out like you're breathing through a straw. Let's do a couple of those. Let's take a breath in and breathe out. One more. And breathe out. As there is only one. There's only one power, one presence, one life, one energy. There's only God. God is love. God is good. God is that joy, that abundance. God is all there is. And each one of us are the perfect and unique, radiant manifestation of the one. We are each love, joy. We are each abundance. We are each that power manifesting through our own unique way. And from that place of my knowing, from my truth, I speak my word into the law for all of us. Knowing that as we allow ourselves to move with that power, as we allow God to move in, as, and through us, we each create a life we love. We each experience, manifest, bring to us that which we desire, that which calls to us from our inner knowing. And I'm so grateful for this truth. I'm grateful for the power that is innate in each of us. And so I let it go, knowing and trusting that it is already done in the divine mind of God, that we each take out into the world what is ours to take. And we share our learning today, the thoughts, the love, the laughter. And so we let it go, knowing that it's already done. Together we say, and so it is.
So it is.
Oh,
So how can we support you?
well, they're so cute with that. They're so cute with that. I wish you could see your face. So how can we support you? Well, you can support us by watching our live feeds, by coming in person, by bringing guests, and sharing what we're doing here on the sofa with others. We really appreciate that. Getting the word out to more people really helps us. You can support us with a one-time donation, going to our beginwithinministries.com website, where you can scroll down and find the donation section there. You can also become a spiritual church club partner, where you donate monthly at either $45 a month for an individual or $75 for a couple or a family. That supports us financially, which helps us do these little things like the cards for our partners. Every partner gets our special mug, which doesn't the coffee taste better out of the mug?
Absolutely.
It's so good.
And it's a good reminder.
It is a good reminder. So the more partners we have, the more we can do. And so as we continue to grow, we thank our partners for being here with us. We thank our partners for that financial support and all that love, because we want to just keep doing more and more of this. At some point we'll outgrow this building and we'll move into something bigger and be able to have a labyrinth like Jeannie wants, and child services and things like that. So that's what we're manifesting here on the sofa. And the kitchen, so we can have breakfast and stuff together. So that's all for this time. Thank you all for being here. Jeannie, we miss you terribly, but I'm excited for you and excited to see. They didn't have a live feed for the service that she did today, but I'm hoping somebody recorded it and then we will post it, because we know that it's probably already done, but I'm sure it was magnificent. So love you, Reverend Jeannie, and we'll see you next week on the sofa. Lyric, I know I didn't give you much of a cue. Bye. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Tune in again next week at 11:11 a.m. Pacific Time, or Monday evening at 7 p.m. Mountain Time.
partnership with New Thought Media Network.